Face the choice between what is right and what is easy.
Hands off me! Stay back. My hip! Stop resisting! You have been arrested! Stop resisting! You're on my knee! Stop resisting! You're my son!
When the police use force against a member of the public, no matter what kind of force, a record has to be made and kept detailing the incident, the force used and the justification for using it. There's guidance from the National Police Chiefs Council detailing this record and how to complete it. After watching this video of a protester being arrested and, in my opinion, unlawfully assaulted with excessive force, I found myself wondering how the constable is ever going to justify his actions. So I thought I'd help him out a little by giving him some advice on filling in his use of force monitoring form. Now, these use of force monitoring forms have 7 sections and are quite long, much of it asking for information that identifies the constable, for example, so those bits I'll clearly skip and get to the main points where I can really offer some valuable advice. In section 2 of the form, entitled Incident Level Characteristics, it asks about the conduct of the subject who had the force used against them. I would suggest that Constable writes in his report that the subject's behaviour was akin to that of a child, throwing a silent tantrum, throwing themselves on the floor, but posing no threat visually or verbally. Let's face it, writing down that the subject became increasingly aggressive towards my left lower limb before jumping off the ground and attacking my kneecap with his stomach ain't gonna hold any water. Under impact factors in section 2 of the form, I would suggest not writing that you were afraid of violence, as there was clearly none indicated, even though it does say based on your own subjective assessment, and we all know what that means. Make it up as you go. In fact, I'm actually struggling to find a reasonable excuse to fill this part of the form with. Next we have the part subtitled Reason for Using Force. Well, apart from you being a sociopathic, narcissistic, cock-wombling spunk trumpet, I can't think of a reasonable excuse to add here either for the fact that you knee dropped the guy in the abdomen, potentially causing damage to his spleen, liver, retroperitoneum, small bowel, kidneys, bladder, colorectum, diaphragm, or pancreas. The next part is the effectiveness. I have to say that drop kneeing someone in the abdomen is certainly not going to loosen them up and allow you to handcuff them, as they will be in pain and the body's natural instinct would be to curl up, therefore negating the reason for doing it in the first place. If of course the reason for doing it in the first place was to handcuff him. Section 4 and 5 of this report really show what the police think about the people they are supposed to help and protect. Section 4 is all about the injuries sustained by the police during the use of force incident, followed by section 5, which is about the injuries sustained by the subject. If you ask me, if the police are the ones instigating the use of force, then the subject's injuries should come above that of the police's. Now, I don't know who this lad is, but I would certainly hope he sees or hears this, as he needs to do a subject access request for the information regarding this incident. Find out exactly what the police have said about this incident in their use of force report, and their excuse for potentially causing serious internal injury, along with the body cam footage from the police to hear what was said before and after the incident. I would say that if there is anyone watching this who thinks that this behaviour against someone who's simply protesting for their rights, which we should all be doing by the way, is acceptable, then you really need to think about where you stand in the human race. We all have rights and deserve respect from everyone. Drop kneeing someone who is simply, at worst, acting like a child is absolutely abhorrent, and this cop and his colleagues need taken into account. Remember this, the next time you hear the police shouting,
Stop resisting!
the chances are it's simply a ploy to be able to get a few digs in and satisfy their need to commit offences and get away with them. And this is the reason you should all be filming every police interaction. Reasonable force is defined as the minimum amount of force needed to achieve the objective. Just because this guy was an adult doesn't make it any different from doing the same to a child who throws themselves on the floor in a tantrum. And that is excessive force. In fact, Crown Prosecution website under Self-Defence and the Prevention of Crime states that in assessing the reasonableness of the force used, prosecutors should ask two questions. Was the use of force necessary in the circumstances, i.e., was there a need for any force at all? And was the force used reasonable in the circumstances? The courts have indicated that both questions are to be answered on the basis of the facts as the accused honestly believed them to be. To that extent, it is a subjective test. There is, however, an objective element to the test. The jury must then go and ask themselves whether, on the basis of the facts as the accused believed them to be, a reasonable person would regard the force used as reasonable or excessive. Now, I know where I stand, but I'd love to hear what you think. Honestly, please let me know in the comments. Was the force reasonable or excessive? Would you have done the same or not? But please explain why you've come to your conclusion too, and we can have a discussion.
Stop resisting!
Good night, all. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you like the content and you'd like to help support the channel, you can do so. In the description of every video there are some links to ways that you're able to help support the channel so I can continue putting out content. If you're unable to help us in that way, hit that subscribe button up the top there. If you haven't already, become a subscriber. That is support enough. Share the videos, comment, like, it all helps. If you're looking for something else to watch, up top there is my latest video. Down the bottom there is a video that YouTube recommends for you.